This one is going to be about religious zealots. I'm not a specialist in anything, okay? I'm going to read and talk at the same time. So, once upon a time, people started realizing that God was universal. They were like, what? Yeah, God or the gods. I mean, they are universal. They might go under different names from area to area, but essentially they're all the same. Gods or the gods are universal, and every nation has essentially the same gods. Aristotle gave an explanation. He said, wisdom or Sophia covers any ingenious invention and conception, all of which ultimately are gifts set down by gods or the gods. Therefore, to do anything well, anything skillfully, according to the divine paradigms and models, it is to follow the way of wisdom, which finally leads to the highest metaphysical goals, to the noetic realm where wisdom itself, the graceful goddess, dwells. No wonder that every nation loves wisdom and has certain lovers of wisdom. They may be goldsmiths, artists, healers, singers, priests, or magicians. As long as they do everything correctly. What I mean by that is, as long as they follow the logic, the facts, and the wisdom, they do things correctly. And what happens? Nations and cultures that never met, if they followed facts, logic, and wisdom, if they did things correctly, what? They end up exactly the same place as everybody else. So God or gods are universal. The names, the iconographies, the rituals, in short, culture, differ, but the gods are the same. This concept of religion as the common background of cultural diversity and the principle of cultural translatability eventually led to the late Hellenistic mentality, for which the names of the gods mattered little in view of the overwhelming natural evidence of their existence. Unequivocally, all names are those of God or gods. God is infinite. And then this unity, let's call it, this unity in metaphysics started coming around that gods are actually one God. The one God transforms himself into the totality of manifestations. The one God that transforms himself into all the divine forces. He transforms himself into all gods and angels and levels of being, because there are many states of being. Nonetheless, remains intact in his transcendence logically. Because if he changed, then he wasn't a god, right? I read this in Hinduism, in original Hinduism, quote unquote, because Hinduism has changed quite a lot with influences from the Middle East. But the original article, the original Hindu article, it talks about this one God who divides himself into manifold. He occupies all living things. He almost lends himself divided, but remaining in a unity. He is one divided into the many. He is he just is and doesn't get altered at all. It just is. He never becomes. What becomes is the shards, the pieces that occupy the bodies, the physical bodies. Those are in the states of becoming. That's how the one or God or the monad or whatever you want to call it, Amun Ra, that's how he experiences individuality. It's how he experiences mass, magnitude, space, and time. He becomes. Anyway, and by living many, many lives, he has acquired the knowledge of everything. So it's pretty common that, for instance, the later Neoplatonists could easily find the Pythagorean and Platonic principles in the Egyptian theologies because these theologies operated within the same logic and system, the same system and religious and philosophy translatability. Everything is just connected because they operated under the same wisdom and the same logic, you know. Then he says one is tempted to argue that the so called ancient polytheistics function as a technique of translation, but ought to be careful when dealing with certain terms. Derogatory terms like the Latin paganus, paganus that meant peasant, rustic, or unlearned, along with additional connotations of idolatry and superstitio. So, superstitio a long time ago meant mentally ill. Nowadays, superstitio has gained a different meaning. Now people call someone superstitious someone who has irrational beliefs, irrational fears and stuff. It's the Poland, man. I'm getting attacked by the Poland. So it is this irony that so-called learned or advanced people or progressive people become zealots. You know why they become zealots? They are completely misunderstanding doctrine. So far from arising as a reaction to Christianity, pagan monotheism was a deeply rooted trend in ancient philosophy which developed under its own momentum, broadening sufficiently to embrace a good part of the population. Indeed, we have inclined to believe that Christian monotheism is, historically speaking, part of the broader development. Christianity did not convince because it was monotheistic. Rather, it would appear that in order to convince, it had to become monotheistic, you see? The Jewish and Christian religions are labeled as counter religions because they reject and repudiate everything that went before and what is outside of themselves. You see, they think themselves exclusive. I mean, I just started this audio talking about how cultures realized if you follow facts, logic, and wisdom, you would arrive exactly at the same conclusions. There's this unity, this spiritual unity in humanity. But then there's a group of these zealots that don't understand anything and they want to what? Be different. They want to be exclusive. They started, counter religions, which is, I would say, a dumbing down of metaphysics. They started dumbing down doctrines and metaphysics, and they created their own dogmatic paradigms. They wanted exclusiveness, and it was built more on the mythical dissociation from ethnicos. You see, they wanted to be based on ethnicity, right? Those who are not God's chosen people, then on the affirming oneness of God. You see, they wanted to be, what I'm talking about, those guys, you know? Therefore, once upon a time, there was this philosopher called Dionysius the Areopagite, and he was a trickster. He was able to include Proclus and theurgy, metaphysics and theurgy, into the Christian theology. How did I do it? I don't know. That's why Christian theology resembles Neoplatonism. Um, so, what did it resemble? These zealots. I'm going to try to break it down. History and experience teaches that there is one thing human nature finds particularly difficult, and that is that of to be just, to be perfectly objective in a way, is to die. Religious zealots are the first to know the meaning of spiritual death, and one of the motives of their zeal is precisely their ignorance of the presence of this mystery amongst their adversaries. But there are different ways of dying and different degrees of death, you see. Let me try to break this down. To be perfectly objective, it is basically to affirm the spirit and deny the physical. This is what many called the dead man walking, basically, is that to be perfectly objective, you have to deny that which is not the self. This is ancient, metaphysics. You can find it in original um, Upanishads. You can find it in original Buddhism, original Hinduism. You can find this in the Neoplatonists, in the Pythagoreans, and you can find it in the Egyptians. Everybody's pretty much talking about the same. The difference between the two souls, basically, the soul, the mortal soul, that one you see in the mirror, and the immortal soul, the transcendent one. So in order to become perfectly objective in a way, is to die, is to deny that which is not the soul, but religious zealots don't understand this. I don't know if you noticed, but in the Abrahamic religions there are some doctrines that they believe they're going to be reborn exactly as they are, the same body, the same person. They will be rewarded in the afterlife with all sorts of carnal pleasures and stuff. You see, they are affirming the opposite. They are constantly focused on the opposite. They identify with the body. It's this ignorance, and they are the first to commit spiritual death, meaning they are the future atheists. The atheists and the religious ones are the ones who are the first to commit spiritual death. They deny the existence of the soul, of the spirit, and they only believe in the body, and their afterlife is being reborn in the same body, or life eternal, like they say, filled with pleasures and stuff. I'm like, nah, man, that's not how it is. That's the opposite of doctrine. They were saying the opposite. So, in order to become perfectly objective, you have to what? Kill the ego. You have to dominate the ego. You have to take control of the ego and um, attain wisdom. Another thing I wanted to say, this part where Aristotle was talking about the good work, doing the good work, following wisdom. Aristotle said, it leads to the highest metaphysical goals. Be it a goldsmith, a healer, a singer, a priest, meaning you have to, like a craftsman, you have to, in one hand, put the material, and in the other hand, you got to put the spiritual. I'm going to use the analogy of a rocking chair. I was listening to this article. It was about a rocking chair that passed from generation to generation. In a time, they made things that make sense. So they made this rocking chair that was perfectly comfortable. Whenever you sit on it, you relaxed and you just went, back and forward, and it was extremely comfortable and durable. It's almost like made with mathematical precision, because you just relaxed and you forgot everything. And that's doing the good work, is when you, using the material world, you infuse it with wisdom, with knowledge, and with the spirit, and you create something that is durable, that is beautiful, that really doesn't have a price. a physical price, but it has a metaphysical price. It has a spiritual price. You say it's priceless, right? No money could buy it. Because if you were to buy a chair that was made in IKEA, for instance, they are uncomfortable, they are lame, and eventually a year after you have to throw them away because they just break. Those chairs was not made, using the skills or the wisdom of the gods. You see, the original Hindu, they used to say, when you do something in which you don't, take wisdom and the material and unify them in divinis, when you don't unify them both, you are committing a sin. You see, it's not sin. It's not something like a crime or that you're going to be punished or something. No, no, that's bullshit. For the original articles and you know, they said sinning was doing things the wrong way. For instance, once upon a time, they used to do cars in divinis, like Toyota. They used to give you a truck. That thing was immortal. It lasted many years, many lifetimes, even if it was properly taken care of, right? But nowadays they make cars with a life expectancy. They make cars with an expiration date. They are counting on you to buy another one in a couple of years. The same goes for every appliances in your kitchen and everywhere. They are doing things the wrong way. They are doing things what? Sinning. They are sinning, you know? So I think that's all I wanted to say. All right.